everybody. How's it going? Thanks for everybody for joining us here. Sorry we're coming to you a little bit late as I was just kind of chatting here with Christy. It has been a crazy Sunday. I don't know why everybody decided to plan everything for this afternoon, but I was like quadruple booked. And then I ended up at a baby shower. I was at a baby shower. That's what I actually did. It was lovely, family, friends, that's the kind of thing. But like couldn't get out in time and then couldn't be mobile. So, but we are here, and this is a Democrat and Republican Walk Into a Bar live show, and I'm your Democratic host, Cindy Banier.
And I'm Christy McLaughlin.
She is your Republican conservative
host.
Right host.
I'm multitasking.
This is our bipartisan discussion. It's something, I know that Christy and I have talked a lot about that is like really important to do. It's been like really fraught politically over, the past decade and change. And, we want to make sure that we can still have conversations across the aisle, talk about issues without kind of devolving into fistfights. Which interestingly enough, I was involved in recently. Christy, I don't know if I told you that.
You were in a fist fight? What'd you do?
It wasn't me. I know that everybody wants to think it was me, but it wasn't.
I'm just kidding.
It was a very weird thing. There's an ongoing investigation. I had to speak with the police this week about it.
So this is like serious.
It was.
It was. You're like kind of teasing.
No.
Was it political?
No. Yes, it was. Actually, it was an event that it was a candidate meet and greet that was in a gated community. Folks had set it up, and some of the folks decided they didn't like Democrats in there, and so they kind of barged in, and then it just kind of escalated from there. And then a woman brought in her husband, and a phone got stolen, and a senior citizen's arm got broken. Which, by the way, battery on somebody over the 65 in the state of Florida is a felony. And again, wherever you are on the political spectrum, right? Like, I think that we can all agree that your everyday Americans, the people around you, are not your enemy, right? And that you can disagree, but when everybody's all ginned up and getting into altercations and stuff, nobody really wins, to be honest. It's definitely not the kind of country that I want to live in. So.
And I just want to point out, like, the most important thing is, regardless of if you do, because people get, like you said, all ginned up, they get so heated about these issues that judgment is clouded, and people still feel like they are your enemy, because people take it so personally when there's a disagreement, especially when it's accusations of people being evil. And both parties point the finger at each other, saying that the other party's evil in their belief system. Yeah. And so the issue is, regardless of even if that's how you feel and you're resorting to that kind of hatred in your heart, which is not a good thing, violence is never, ever, ever, ever okay. And I don't know why on social media, because I'm 30, I'm on social media all the time, and I love checking the comment section to see what people have to say. It is remarkable to me, both parties, both conservatives and liberals, are so okay with being violent, threatening each other online, saying the nastiest, most harsh and cruel, hateful things. We had a period of time where it's like there was no filter whatsoever, and then we had the oversensitivity, beware of bullying, beware of cyberbullying and things like that, where there was a lot of like, don't say that, and now the pendulum has swung right back in the other direction, where everybody is now like escalating to violence. I've personally witnessed, I've seen people come at me and say that I don't deserve to be alive and things like that, and so it's not necessarily that they're threatening my life or saying they're going to do something, just that I shouldn't exist and I don't have a right to exist. And I find it remarkable. I'm like, just because we disagree, you hate me so much that like you've escalated it to a violent nature. It's very shocking.
I was going to say, just go to my page, because you will see I am getting daily death threats, violence threats, rape threats every day, as well as like just ridiculous ad hominem attacks and stuff. Now, I will say something about this. I don't truly believe that most of those are real people. So we do have to understand that part of our modern social media landscape is not just people. There is an element of people just hiding behind like anonymity online, but we do have to realize, listen, there are legitimate foreign threats, Chinese, Russian, Eastern European, Iranian cyber threats, right? And part of the strategy, and this is not just me speaking out of my bungholio here. This is like legitimate things that you can go back, for years. CIA, FBI have been tracking for years. These are interference operations that are trying to manipulate our minds basically so that we will walk away from our constitution, our government, and believe that we're not worth it, essentially, that we'll fight with one another, and dehumanizing
and
one
that we
another
need
is
to be
part
controlled. Yes,
of it. Yeah.
and that's it. And because of that, we can't control ourselves, so we need to be controlled, and there has to be some form of intervention.
Yeah. So, I mean, just, everybody just be cool. I got to say, it's be cool. Like, know that this stuff that's online it's not real a lot of times. It's like crazy stuff. So just let it go. Sometimes, I'm like, I'll poke back because I use it. Like if somebody says something, I'm like, hey, this is actually my position, blah, blah, blah. But like, you don't feed the trolls, don't get into it. And definitely don't let that stuff like come out into life, right? Like, it's not it, because the American people, we are not each other's enemies. We are not. I want us to hold on to that, because there is so much stuff going on that divides us, and people that are upset about things that, I think we need to redouble on ourselves. That's one of the things I've been talking about. Anyway, so also a lot of stuff going on, Christy. Bipartisan stuff.
There are things going on.
Did you have a favorite area that you want to jump in? I know we got just a little bit of time this week because I was running behind, but is there a big issue that's like?
Well, obviously, the most important issue that's prevalent to this country right now is Justin Bieber's performance at Coachella.
Hilarious. I was wondering where you were going to go with that. I didn't even realize Coachella was still a thing anymore.
Me neither, until I saw the post today, and I was like, "Oh, would you look at that? Justin Bieber came back out of hiding."
How amazing! So that's like, oh, cool. Great. I mean, I will say. So one thing I will say is, like, I do think that, God, we need joy. Like, we do need joy. Yes, there's so much heavy news.
And I love the beeps. So
like, there's heavy news. There's tons of things that we could be talking about, but like, I think, and that's one thing that I felt like I filled my cup to be at the baby shower with my friends and family today, just to kind of see that it's not all of, it's not all of this stuff that's going on around us or that we hear. Like, really what ultimately matters is our family. And, and that's, I don't know, that's part of what I'm fighting for too. Like, I want us to get back to, like, this is what I want. I want us to be able to do these things and lead our lives. And gosh, remember that Coachella is a thing, and like, maybe even be able to go to it, without feeling like, oh my gosh, all this crazy
in this economy.
Honestly, I don't know who can afford a Coachella. It's like a whole other conversation, but very important when you start talking about monopolies and Ticketmaster and how all that stuff, not only do they have the monopoly, but they control like all of the stuff underneath them.
Trickle down.
So, but maybe that's for another day. Okay, so besides the Biebs, what else is on your mind?
Well, so I mean, so much has happened, and we haven't talked in almost a month, especially because we had Easter. I had to cancel one of the weeks that we planned. So, I mean, so much has happened. And to your point, we've got like 15 minutes before I actually have to go. This is a short episode. But, like with everything, the conflict with Iran right now, we could talk about something positive like Artemis 2, even though that's kind of right now it's over and done with until a few years from now.
The moon joy. Yeah, that was a nice little surprise too. Moon joy. That felt good. It did feel good to see, the moon, the dark side of the moon, the pictures from the backside. That was kind of cool. And that is actually where I think America is at its best with that kind of stuff, right? Like, when we're leading the world in inspiration, in science, and
Innovation. Yes.
exploration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was really, it did lift me up because yeah, the war in Iran has been so incredibly heavy. But yeah, I was really happy to see that, and um, the splashdown, everything was just so cool. There's a little piece of my heart that has always wanted to be an astronaut, even though I know it's like totally not really within the realm of possibility for me personally. But I will also, there were people that were joking about this, is like one reason why like my generation, these Gen X millennial crossover folks were not super excited for watching the moon launch, and that was because of Challenger, which by the
Yeah.
way blew up when I was in
Yeah.
kindergarten around my
Mm-hmm.
birthday. And let's just say it's, been a little traumatic, the spaceship
Yeah.
thing since then, because they were always saying, they're like, there's a teacher on the spaceship. And then it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're a
For
little
me,
hesitant.
growing up, it was the Columbia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I remember. And I distinctly remember I was playing with my little sister because I was still small enough to be able to like go into my little sister's crib. And so I was sitting in there playing with her. And then like I look over on the TV because I'm playing with my sister. I'm not paying attention to anything my parents are saying or anything like that. And then I just see this like fiery ball like crashing into, it's terrible. And so I get it. Like it's very scary to watch, and I can imagine when you were in kindergarten and that happened, that's like a traumatic thing to be like, maybe this is a really bad idea, maybe we need to stop. But like you just said, that's exactly why Americans are excelling. This is why it's such a great thing when there is a successful mission. The fact that all of life is about risks, all of exploration and innovation and growth and development is about taking risks. And when you have a success story like this Artemis 2 situation, and that it's going to lead into, in a couple of years, hopefully a moon landing, and then more development in space exploration. And in space exploration, we can continue to advance technology here on Earth to explore more of our planet, as we know that a lot of the ocean is not discovered. A lot of, there's a lot of this Earth that is undiscovered and still needs a lot of studying to do. But so I know a lot of people argue, why are we focusing on space when we should focus here? It's all hand in hand. And I think that's great. Like it's one of these bipartisan moments. This is a Democrat and Republican walk into a bar. So we could be talking about the really heavy subjects right now in this very short time that we have with the conflict in Iran. Or we could take a moment and be like, hey, we can have like a moment of celebration that when people come together and when, politics is set aside and it's just about how can we do something really, really cool that's going to benefit everybody. And that's, scientific innovation and development. That's, so it is a little bit scary and traumatic, but that's what Americans are known for. Americans are known for having, pardon my language, but really big balls.
Like to go out there and do it, right?
Yeah. That's what we're known for.
And the other thing is like the research and development that goes into this. I mean, there's been so many different offshoots, the internet actually, and the technology, the computing technology, these all things came from various both military investments as well as the space exploration components to it. So these are things that can have broad impacts across our society, across time, right? And why I've always been a fan of it, of those types of government investments. But since we are short on time and we are talking about bipartisan things, and we're also talking about space.
Yes.
Let's talk about UFOs or UAPs.
Oh.
All right. Okay, I'm going to go there because, okay. So I don't know if I've discussed on this particular podcast, this is something that's always been super exciting, interesting for me. I have read Luis Elizondo's his book Eminent twice. By the way, he's from around here. If you haven't known that, he actually grew up in Immokalee, and I think he lives in Sarasota. But he is basically, if you don't know who Luis Elizondo is, he's kind of like the guy who has been out front talking about the government, what they do know, what they don't know in terms of UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena. He had worked for some of these government and military programs, and he resigned so he could go out and talk about them. And his book is kind of like really important in terms of what we know. It piggybacks off the 2021 report that came out that kind of declassified a whole bunch of stuff like the Tic Tac video and all these different things that the military had known about the UAPs. And his book went through the clearance process and tells us what is going on basically with what we do and what we don't know. And his ultimately the point that Luis Elizondo makes about UAPs is that we're kind of like not really paying attention to it, and it could be a big deal, and we don't really know what their intentions are is part of it. But this week we had, and by the way, this was bipartisan in Congress and stuff in terms of who was funding it. Harry Reid, Democrat from Nevada, was somebody who was integral in getting funding for a lot of these UAP research and stuff like that. But Republican and Democratic Congress people have been intricately involved in it. And this week we saw two fairly prominent Republicans, the last 2 weeks, speak out on this. All right, we saw Tim Burchett from Tennessee. His comment was something like, it would knock your socks off. He's very like country. I don't know if you've ever heard Tim Burchett talk, but he's very country. But he's like, if you saw what I saw, it would knock your socks off. Something along those lines. And then Matt Gaetz, of all people, kind of was on a podcast, was talking about how he had seen human alien breeding programs. So I guess in this bipartisan discussion, this cross-aisle discussion, where are you when it comes to UAPs and what's going on?
Like whether I believe it or not, or
what do you believe? Should the government let us know? Like,
I think
I
always believe in full transparency. Look, I haven't actually spoken to Matt Gaetz in years. Actually, I'm trying to think when's the last time I talked to him.
You should call him and ask him about that.
I want to say I want to say the last time I talked to him was either 2022 or 2023. It's been a long time, so I don't know any of his comments on that.
A lot of extra time these days.
Yeah, apparently. So I don't discount anything, and so I am a Catholic. I understand that God made us in his image on this earth and stuff like that. But I'm also very, very curious as a person, and I'm very, very open to possibilities. And so I'm always like, I'm not going to discount anything. And I do see the anomalies, and and I have heard of this. This is an ongoing thing. Like with every conspiracy or rumor, there's always kind of a little bit of truth to it that causes it. There's always a base. There's a basis to why something started. And there's always an intention behind it. So it always makes me curious. It's like, this is an ongoing thing that people have been talking about for, there's ancient aliens where people are claiming there's evidence of aliens for centuries and centuries and centuries. Yeah. So, I don't discount anything whatsoever, but I do absolutely believe in full government transparency. And I believe that for everything. As we talked about the long discussion we had about the Epstein list and about the Epstein files, what we discussed is you got to release everything. And what we want to see is further investigation. You can't just be like, okay, this is all we have. Okay, all done. There's nothing we could do now. I don't like that attitude. You are the U.S. government. This is your job. The thing is, I believe in a limited federal government, and much more so than you. And I believe that the federal government has very, very limited role. But given how much power it continues to take, I'm like, then at least do your job. This is something that you need to be doing, and transparency is something that needs to be a constant. So that's where I stand on that. And I stand on that with everything. I mean, we have no time to get into it now. And actually, I would love to do for the next episode, talk about education a little bit more. I did want to bring Lance Wissinger, who is my partner, but we also work for the Freedom and Virtue Institute. It's a nonprofit. We are non-political, but we are one of our programs is education based, and so I would love to get into more transparency on how the U.S. Department of Education is run. All of these Inspector General reports that indicate that FERPA investigations never were complete. There's so many
Mm,
areas in our US government that is very clandestine and secretive and
mm,
covered up, and I don't like that. And so to your point about the
I agree.
UFOs like, and UAPs, yes, transparency is everything. And it would be really cool if it turned out that we are not alone in this universe. It would be very, very interesting to, maybe dangerous, but it would be cool to find out.
Yeah, that's actually, and that's what like Luis Elizondo's point is like, hey, like maybe we should kind of not treat this as like a novelty, but like think about national security, right? Like,
Yeah.
what does this mean, right? Because there was a bunch of different military stuff, and I do recommend reading his book Eminent if you're interested in this. But the other thing that a lot of the congressional representatives had talked about, again bipartisan, was how the military is actually paid out people, right? People who have had physical, ramifications from contact with UAPs, like physical burns and things like that.
Mhm.
And there's been no transparency for the government, on that.
Yeah.
Another
Why
point
are
that
you paying them? What's happening?
exactly that
Don't we deserve
Elizondo
to know?
makes that is also really interesting, and this again a bipartisan issue, very, very big right now, is there was technology that they
Mm.
claim that Elizondo claims had been brought in from various things that were not from this world as far as they could tell, right? And there were companies that have this technology. They basically gave them to different companies. Companies use that, and that's actually like U.S. government property, right? That it shouldn't be left to companies to continue to profit off it. And that's one of the reasons why Elizondo alleges that there's been so much secrecy around this, is because there are people making big bucks off this
Mm,
technology and they don't want to give it up. And they don't want to
right.
give it back basically into like a public domain kind of situation. And but like it's really wild, like that, like presidents don't know what some of these things are, right? They're like everybody in the government was on like this need to know basis, and almost everybody did not need to know.
Isn't
So
that crazy that
yeah,
supposedly the commander in chief, the highest, most powerful person in the nation, is not in the know for so many things? And this is not a new concept. This is actually,
right.
there have been so many times in which, I mean, look at Biden, the accusations that Biden was not really the commander in chief, that it was other people that were in charge. And the fact that we have a government, an entity that exists in this manner to leave the American people out, even though it's
Yeah,
supposed to be solely based on the American votes that puts them into that power. It's so frightening to know that this entity is such a monstrously strong and clandestine and powerful unit that none of us, not a single person in this country knows the depth to which the entity itself is functioning with so many secrets. Because if the commander in chief is not in the know on everything, then even the powerful powers that be within this entity, they're still they are in the dark on things that are happening over here and in a separate part of the government. That's a frightening notion, that it's like, and it's a being in and of itself.
yeah.
Our government. That's how it's
Well,
expanded. It's
and
very
there's
frightening.
it's different little pieces of it and different power and stuff, and I think that's part of the intrigue with it. And of course, I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with like conspiracies and truth and deep state and that like I don't know. Maybe the aliens are the whole root of it, and maybe if we find out that Matt Gaetz is leading the human breeding program, maybe that will solve all of our problems. Honestly, they did this guy dirty when they were reporting this, because they used those ones like after the RNC where he had like the big Botox eyebrows
Oh
like this,
no.
and it was like
Yeah.
Matt Gates says, the human breeding program, and it just so happens
Oh
to be like
goodness
the
gracious.
wildest picture they could find of him. So they really did him dirty on that.
They did him
Um,
dirty.
but
Well, and that's the thing. And again, like no matter how outlandish anyone, like, and I'm talking about for both party sides, no matter how outlandish something sounds, I always still believe, again, there's a modicum of truth to it. Even if it sounds insane, there's always got to be a little bit of truth, because an effective lie always comes from a little bit of truth, right?
yep,
And so it leads me to believe, I'm like, but okay, what did he see? What is
yeah.
he talking about?
I
Because
know.
there's got to be something to it. Where would he
You
come
got to
up with
call
this
him. You got to call
concept?
him and bring the dirt back for us. No, but I mean, yeah. I listen. There are a lot of things in this life that I wouldn't believe. Somehow I feel like human alien interbreeding program that's been a hidden thing for 70 years by the government. That feels really realistic to me.
I mean, stranger things have happened, you know, like, you never know.
All right. We'll get back a little bit of levity, a little bit of, the alien and space stuff today. And we'll get back to some heavier
Yeah.
conversations. Thanks for sticking with us, everybody. This has been a short version of a Democrat and Republican walk into a bar. I have been your Democratic host, Cindy Vanier.
And I'm your Republican host, Christy McLaughlin.
And we do hope that you would help us to keep the lights on here, maybe keep me a little bit more rigorously on time, become a subscriber, and we will give you full access to all of our videos and everything emailed to you in your inbox after all of our shows, our podcasts, our articles. You can sign up on the plans and pricing page at bigmouthmediafl.com. We would love to have your support. Independent media matters. Thanks so much, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.